Welcome to the Leadership Skill Sessions, where we tackle real workplace questions with expert insights, practical strategies, and honest conversations. I'm Desiree Musselman, a certified leadership coach and trainer, and together we'll learn how to respond, not just react, to workplace stress, inspiring others, and lead with strategy and purpose. Let's check out our topic for today. So today's question, I'm actually super intrigued by because I love talking about perceptions. But it was posted on Reddit by a department leader whose manager regularly references the perception of their performance without discussing the factual merits. They want to know how to work with a leader who references the perception of their performance. And that's really all they're referencing. So we're going to look at some of the situations leading to the leader's question. And then, as always, I will ask a couple coaching questions and give a little insight behind why I'm asking those questions and help with understanding perceptions and how to navigate them, because they can be a doozy sometimes. So the very first thing that this leader is sharing is that during a performance review, their manager said it was perceived that this person wasn't properly executing on a specific task. Now, there is a fine line with reviews that we all have to take into consideration. Reviews are based in perception, and depending on the person, they can be based in facts around the perception, or they can be based on emotions and feedback that they're receiving. So while it can be hard to live in perceptions, especially during a review, I want everybody to keep that in the back of their mind that when we are going through a performance review, a lot of it is perception-based. Our perceptions, their perceptions, and bringing those two together. The second piece is that the leader spent months showing their manager data as proof that they were properly executing on this task that they were asking them to do. They were really trying to prove that they were doing this to change that perception. And the third piece is that now, after all these months of changing the perception, they're now being told the new perception is that they are hard to deal with, that they're hard to work with. And that's not ever fun for anybody to hear, especially when they're really trying to show that they are doing the things that they need to be doing and that they are executing and trying to move forward in the things that they're being given feedback on. So this leader's question, how do they work with a leader who references the perception of their performance? So let's break this down. That first point, that during a performance review, their manager said it was perceived that this person wasn't properly executing on a task. So my question as a coach would be, how would you have preferred your leader to approach this? And the reason I'm asking this question, obviously, this leader might have that perception, but it's probably coming from other areas. They're getting feedback from someone saying that you're not handling this task properly. So how would they have preferred them to handle that? When we can understand that, it really lets us understand what alignment looks like with that leader. And it can help us navigate what was our expectation and where did that expectation fall off? Why do we have that expectation? When it comes to perceptions, they are completely set in values and beliefs. When we're truly clear about our values and not just, hey, I love honesty, right? What does that even mean? But when we get down into our definition of that, what does it look like when we are showing honesty? What does it look like to us when we know someone else values honesty? What's it look like when they don't? How do we gauge that? When we're really clear on all of our values and our belief system around those values, it makes it a lot easier to understand our perceptions of the situation. But now we can also understand other people's perceptions, because perceptions are based in those values and beliefs. When we're not clear on it, it makes situations like performance reviews very hard to interact with because we will be triggered and we're not quite sure why we're triggered. This is where not only understanding perception, but understanding personality styles comes in. Because when we have reviews, they should not only be perception based. I totally 100% agree with that. Yet, even though data should be included, depending on your leader's style, they might not. And I'll use DISC as an example. When somebody is, say, a high I, very extroverted, they don't really care about details. Vice versa, when you have somebody who's a high C, they care about the facts. They don't care about the perception as much because it's not about perception, it's about facts. When you do reviews, it has to be somewhere in the middle. And leaders struggle with finding that middle because their comfort zone is one or the other. It sounds to me like this person has a high I for a leader who's very focused on connection, but not as much in the details. So when you're working with that person, it's really helpful to get clear on how you would have preferred them to approach it. And then understand that this person, that might not be in their skill set. The second piece is that the leader spent months showing the manager data as proof they were properly executing. The question I would ask here, and I want you to think about personality styles when we talk about this, is what reaction were you hoping to elicit by showing data to a manager who focuses on perception? It's not right or wrong, it's who we are. This person probably is very fueled by data because it is black or white information on whether they succeeded or not. It's the ROI, right? We always talk about KPIs and ROIs in leadership. Data gives us that. But if you have somebody who's solely focused on perception, data is not going to help them. They're not going to understand it. They're not going to get on board with it because it's not where their focus is. So when you really think about what were you hoping to get from that, then you can deconstruct it and go, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What do I need to do to be able to lead up to that success? Versus here's what I know my skills are. I'm going to do it this way and hope I will get that outcome that I'm looking for. It doesn't always work. That's why setting goals and really understanding other people will help you as a leader and as a person to be happier because you really understand where you're trying to go. Now, that takes us to the last bullet. They are now being told the perception is that they are hard to work with. So the question for them would be, how do you want to be perceived? Sometimes we think that being told that we're hard to work with is a bad thing. And what we don't pay attention to is maybe it's not right or wrong. Maybe it's not good or bad. In leadership, I truly believe that there is no good or bad, right or wrong. A lot of people would disagree with me on that. But I would invite you to think from the perspective of, in leadership, it's less effective and more effective. Because what is right or wrong with one person and how you interact with them might not be right or wrong for another person. It's just less effective or more effective depending on their belief system and their values, their thought process, how they show up, their style. Maybe how you're interacting is helpful for innovation and for thinking differently and outside of the box. Maybe it's the approach that's making you hard to work with. But when you really understand how you want to be perceived, you can then take action and take steps to be able to be perceived that way. When we talk about perceptions, one of the hardest things is that we can't control other people's perceptions of us. And that is 90% true. The only thing that we can really control is how we interact and how we deal with those perceptions. So if we can get clear on how we want to be perceived, and we can get alignment with our values and belief systems so we feel authentic, we can change those perceptions over time. It begins with meeting somebody where they're at. So to answer the big question of how to work with leaders who reference the perception of our performance, my question to this leader would be, what would meeting them halfway look like? The truth of the matter is that we will never, ever work with a full team of people that think the way we do, that care about the things we care about, that have the same values and belief systems. It just doesn't happen. We need those different personality types and ways of approaching things to be able to be a fully fleshed out team. So finding how to meet someone halfway when somebody is fully focused on perception and not facts, and we really enjoy and understand the data. If we can find a halfway between that, that's where success comes from. That's where really hitting your goals and feeling good and finding joy in what you're doing will come from, because it's not just one or the other. It's a blend. And when we can find those blends, it is a way to support everybody involved. So when you think about how to work with someone who handles things different from how we handle it, it's really understanding how to blend that. And when you do it, oh, it's amazing. Thanks for exploring this topic with us today. If you like the discussion, tap the like and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more discussions and questions to help you find your unique leadership style and voice.